You
Look at
say
that
something to your
tail
dog,
wagging.
anything,
You are
really.
such a
Their
happy
name,
dog,
a
aren't you?
random word, a question they couldn't possibly understand. And then they do it. That head tilt, one ear up, one ear slightly down, eyes locked on you with the most curious, almost human expression you've ever seen. They look at you like they're truly trying to understand, like they're hanging on every single word. Almost every owner thinks the same thing in that moment. They think it's adorable. They take a picture. They tell their friends their dog is the smartest dog in the world. And here's the thing. They're not wrong about the adorable part. But what almost no owner knows is that the head tilt isn't just cute. It's not random. It's not just your dog trying to look funny. It's one of the most sophisticated forms of canine communication that exists. And depending on how, when, and why your dog tilts their head, it could mean a dozen completely different things. Some beautiful, some surprising, and one that if you ever see it consistently, you absolutely need to pay attention to. What you're about to hear will change the way you see that little head tilt forever. By the end of this video, you'll be able to read your dog's tilts more accurately than most owners ever will in their lifetime. So stay with me until then, because this matters more than people realize. Let's start with what your dog is really doing. 1. They're not just being cute, they're listening. Here's the first thing you need to understand. The head tilt isn't an emotional response. It's a physical one. When your dog tilts their head while you're speaking, they're not trying to look adorable. They're not posing, they're not performing. Their entire brain is doing something incredibly specific in that exact moment. They are trying to locate, identify, and understand the sound they just heard. Dogs hear differently than humans do. Their ears are mobile, almost independently rotating, designed to capture sound from multiple directions at once. When a dog hears something interesting or unusual, they often shift the angle of their head because doing so physically changes the way sound enters their ear canals. By tilting their head, your dog is actually adjusting their hearing. It's similar to how a human might cup a hand behind an ear to hear better, or angle their head toward a speaker in a noisy room. The tilt is functional. It improves clarity, helps pinpoint where the sound is coming from, and sharpens the frequencies of human speech. A study on canine auditory behavior found that dogs were more likely to tilt their heads when they were trying to identify familiar words or emotionally meaningful sounds. The tilt wasn't random. It correlated directly with their attempts to understand what they were hearing. So when your dog tilts their head as you talk to them, here's what's really happening. They're not just being adorable.
Okay,
They're
buddy, are you
concentrating.
ready to go to the park?
They're trying to
It's gonna
make
be so
sense of
much
what you're
fun
saying.
today.
They're
We can play
filtering through the
fetch
layers
and
of your
maybe even get
voice,
ice cream.
searching for words they recognize, hunting for the emotional cues that tell them what mood you're in. They're doing the canine equivalent of leaning in to truly listen. That tilt is a sign of active engagement. It means your dog cares enough about what you're saying that they want to understand it. And that, when you really think about it, might be one of the most quietly beautiful things a dog does for the humans they love. 2. The angle of the tilt reveals which ear is dominant. Now this is where it gets fascinating, and most owners have never noticed it. Your dog probably tilts their head in the same direction most of the time, always to the left or always to the right. That isn't random. It's something called ear dominance. Just like humans have a dominant hand, dogs have a dominant ear. The side they tilt their head toward is usually the side they hear most clearly. It's the ear they instinctively use to better locate or interpret sounds. Studies on canine cognition have shown that dogs with stronger left ear dominance often process emotional sounds more intensely. Their brain associates the left ear with the right hemisphere, which handles emotional processing. Dogs with right ear dominance tend to focus more on logical sound identification, since the right ear connects to the left hemisphere, which handles language-like processing. This is fascinating because it means the direction of the tilt isn't just a quirk. It can actually reveal how your dog processes information. A dog who consistently tilts left when you talk might be focused on your emotional tone. They're paying attention to how you feel, not just what you're saying. A dog who tilts right might be focused more on identifying specific words and meaning. Neither is better, they're simply different listening styles. The next time your dog tilts their head, watch the angle carefully. Notice which side they favor. Notice whether they always tilt the same way when you say their name, when you ask a question, or when you give a familiar command.
What's that?
You're not just watching a cued behavior. You're watching your
What's
dog's
that?
individual personality come through in one of the most subtle, most personal ways possible. Some dogs are emotional listeners. Some dogs are logical listeners, and the head tilt tells you which one yours is. And hey, if any of this is making you look at your dog a little differently right now, hit that like button and subscribe. It's the best way to help us reach more dog owners who actually want to understand what their dog is trying to say. We've got more sections coming, and the last few might genuinely change how you see your dog's little quirks. Let's keep going. 3. The tilt can mean they're confused. Here's something you might not have considered. Sometimes the head tilt isn't about hearing better. Sometimes it's about not understanding at all. When a dog encounters something they can't quite make sense of, their natural response is to tilt their head while studying the situation. A new sound, a strange object, an unfamiliar voice coming from a phone, a word they've never heard
Wanna go for
before,
a walk?
even just an expression
Wanna
on your
get the
face they
ball?
don't recognize. In these moments, the tilt is a sign of cognitive effort. The dog is essentially saying, "What is this and what should I do about it?" You'll notice this kind of tilt has a slightly different feel from the listening tilt. The eyes are wider, the ears are more alert and forward-facing. Sometimes there's even a small frown in their brow, that subtle wrinkle above their eyes that says they're genuinely thinking. This is one of the most charming forms of the tilt because it shows you something deeply human about your dog. They're confused, they're processing, they're trying to figure out a piece of their world that doesn't make immediate sense. Owners often see this when they make new noises around the house. A new appliance starts running, a delivery truck makes an unusual sound, someone laughs in a way the dog hasn't heard before, and there your dog is, head tilted, eyes wide, asking the silent question, "What just happened?" This kind of tilt is also why dogs respond so strongly to video clips, sound effects, and even baby noises. The unfamiliar quality of the sound triggers their curiosity, and the tilt is the visible part of an entire mental process happening inside their brain. If your dog tilts often during conversations, in particular contexts, watch what came before the tilt. You'll start to see patterns. You'll begin to understand which sounds confuse them, which fascinate them, and which leave them genuinely puzzled. That little tilt is a window into your dog's mind. Most owners never realize they have access to that window. You will from now on. 4. Some dogs tilt because they're seeking your approval. Now, this part is something most people have never been told. Some dogs tilt their head not because they're listening or confused, but because they've learned that the behavior gets a positive response from you. Think about it. The very first time your dog tilted their head as a puppy, you probably reacted with a smile, maybe a laugh, maybe a hug, maybe a treat. Maybe you immediately picked up your phone to take a picture. Your dog noticed. Dogs are extraordinary observers of human behavior. They're constantly learning which actions get them attention, affection, and rewards. And the head tilt, because it almost universally generates a positive response from humans, becomes one of the most reinforced behaviors in a dog's life. Over time, your dog learns that tilting their head leads to good things. This doesn't mean the behavior is fake. It doesn't mean your dog is manipulating you. It simply means that the head tilt has become part of how your dog connects with you emotionally. They've learned that this small movement creates a moment of warmth between you both. It is, in a quiet way, a kind of language they've developed to speak to you. You'll often notice this kind of tilt during specific moments. When you greet them, when you crouch down to their level, when you ask them in that special voice, "Who's a good dog?" when you're holding something they want. In those moments, the tilt isn't just
Good
listening
boy.
or confusion, it's
Here
connection.
you go,
It's your
sweetie.
dog saying in their own learned way, I see you and I know this brings us closer. The most loved dogs in the world are often the ones who tilt their heads the most. Not because they're smarter than other dogs, not because they're cuter, but because they've spent their entire lives in a home where someone reacted with love every time they tilted their head, and they learned that one tiny movement could deepen the connection. That's not a trick. That's a relationship being built one head tilt at a time. 5. The tilt is also about reading your face. Here's something that will genuinely surprise you. Researchers studying dog behavior have proposed a fascinating theory about why dogs tilt their heads. It's not just about hearing better, it's about seeing better too. Dogs have a long muzzle that can actually block part of their vision when they look directly at a human face. Specifically, the lower half of a person's face, including the mouth, can be partially obscured when the dog is looking straight ahead. By tilting their head slightly, the dog can move that visual obstruction out of the way, allowing them to see your entire face more clearly. And here's why that matters. Dogs read human emotions primarily through facial expressions. The mouth and the eyes are the two most important areas for them to study. When a dog tilts their head while you talk, they may be doing something incredibly intentional. They are trying to
He's a
see
good
your mouth
boy.
move. They are trying to
Do you
read
want
your
to go
full
for a
expression.
walkies?
They are gathering visual information at the same time they're gathering auditory information. Think about what this means. Your dog isn't just listening to your words. They are reading your face while listening. They are matching sound to emotion, words to expression, tone to facial cue. They are processing you on multiple sensory channels at once. This is one of the most sophisticated communication behaviors in the animal kingdom, and it happens during something as simple as a quiet conversation between you and your dog. The next time your dog tilts their head while you
Who's a
speak,
good dog?
take a second to notice their eyes. You'll see them tracking your face. You'll
Do
see
you
them
want a
studying
treat?
you. You'll see the depth of attention they're giving you in a way that, once you recognize it, you cannot unsee. This is also why dogs with shorter snouts, like pugs and bulldogs, often tilt less than longer-snouted dogs like collies and retrievers. They simply don't need to. The shape of their face means their vision isn't obstructed the same way, which means the head tilt isn't just behavior, it's literal evolution at work, helping your dog understand you better. 6. Highly intelligent dogs tilt more often. Now, this is something every dog owner loves to hear, but there's real science behind it. Studies have found that dogs who frequently tilt their heads tend to have stronger memory, faster learning, and better recognition of human words. A 2021 study published in Animal Cognition tracked dogs while they were learning the names of new objects. The researchers noticed something curious. The dogs who were classified as gifted word learners, meaning they could remember the names of dozens of toys, tilted their heads significantly more often than the average dog. The tilt was happening at moments of intense focus, when the owner said a specific word, when the dog was trying to retrieve a specific item, when the dog was processing complex information. In other words, the head tilt isn't just listening behavior, it's thinking behavior. The dogs that tilt the most are often the dogs that are working hardest to understand the world around them. They're not just hearing, they're analyzing, they're storing, they're connecting words to meaning and meaning to action. This is why service dogs, working dogs, and dogs trained for complex tasks often display the head tilt more frequently than average pet dogs. Their brains are constantly being asked to process new information, and the tilt is part of how they manage that processing. But this is also true for everyday family dogs. The dog who tilts every time you say their name, the dog who tilts when you ask about a walk, the dog who tilts when they hear the word treat.
Buddy, come
These
here,
dogs
boy.
aren't just being cute, they're being deeply engaged. They are learning, remembering, and connecting with you in ways that go far beyond what most owners realize. So the next time someone tells you your dog isn't very smart because they don't do tricks, remember this. Smartness in dogs isn't about performance, it's about attention. And the dog who tilts their head whenever you speak is showing you in real time just how attentive and intelligent they truly are. 7. When the tilt becomes a sign to watch. Now here's the part every dog owner needs to hear carefully, and this might be the most important section of the entire video. While the tilt is almost always a beautiful and healthy behavior, there are situations where it can be a warning sign, and catching this early can make an enormous difference for your dog. Here's what to watch for. If your dog suddenly starts tilting their head all the time, not just when you talk, not just when they hear a sound, but constantly throughout the day, even when nothing seems to be triggering it. This is called a persistent head tilt. And unlike the playful, communicative tilt we've been talking about, a persistent tilt can be a sign of something more serious. The most common cause is an inner ear infection. The vestibular system inside a dog's ear controls their balance. When that system becomes inflamed or infected, the dog often tilts their head to one side and keeps it there because their sense of balance has been disrupted. You may also notice them stumbling, falling to one side, or having difficulty walking in a straight line. Other possible causes include vestibular disease, especially in older dogs, ear mites, or foreign objects lodged in the ear canal, neurological conditions affecting the inner ear or brain, and in rare cases, tumors or growths near the ear. The way to tell the difference between a normal tilt and a concerning one is simple. A normal tilt is brief. It happens in response to a stimulus. It resolves quickly. Your dog goes back to a neutral head position. A concerning tilt is persistent. It stays. It happens without any apparent trigger. It may be accompanied by other symptoms, like loss of balance, eye twitching, vomiting, lethargy, or reluctance to move. If you ever see this pattern in your dog, do not wait. A vet visit can identify the cause quickly, and most conditions are treatable when caught early. This isn't said to scare you. It's said because the dogs whose owners catch these early signs are the dogs who recover fastest, suffer least, and continue living happy, healthy, and deeply understood lives. That's the kind of owner you're becoming just by watching this video tonight.
If this video helped you understand your dog on a deeper level, drop a comment below and tell me about your dog's tilt. Do they tilt left or right? Do they tilt at certain words, certain sounds, or all the time? I read every single comment. And if you want to keep understanding your dog on this deeper level, subscribe to Dog's Tongue. New videos every week, helping you hear what your dog has been trying to tell you all along. So, the next time you say something and your dog tilts their head, take a moment. Don't just laugh, don't just take a picture, don't just call them adorable and move on. Look at them. Notice which way they tilt. Notice their eyes. Notice their ears. Notice how their body language settles for that brief, focused moment. Because in that tiny gesture, your dog is doing something extraordinary. They are listening with their entire being. They are watching your face. They are processing your voice. They are reading the emotional weight of your words. They are remembering, comparing, connecting, loving you in the only way they know how to. That little head tilt isn't a trick. It isn't a habit. It is one of the deepest forms of attention a dog can give to a human. It is your dog saying, without any words at all, "You matter to me. I want to understand you. I am trying my best with the senses I have to know you the way you know me." So the next time you say something and your dog tilts their head and looks up at you with that quiet, curious gaze, lean down, meet their eyes, speak softly, let them know that you noticed. Because while you have been living your busy life, your dog has been quietly trying to understand every word of it. That little tilt has always been their way of saying, "I'm here and I'm listening." The least you can do is finally listen back. They have been hoping you would all along.